There was a woman named Amara who lived in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knew everyone else's name, their children's names, and sometimes even their secrets. She was a simple woman who worked at a small bakery downtown, waking before dawn each morning to knead dough and shape bread while most people still dreamed. Her hands were rough from years of work, but her heart remained soft despite the hardships life had given her. Amara had lost her husband 3 years ago in an accident, leaving her alone to raise their daughter Zainab, who was now 14 years old. Money was always tight, and there were nights when Amara would lie awake wondering how she would pay the next month's rent or afford Zainab's school supplies. But she never complained. She would simply whisper a prayer, place her trust in God, and wake up the next morning ready to try again. One particular Thursday afternoon, Amara was walking home from the bakery with a small bag of day-old bread that her employer let her take. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, and she was thinking about how she would prepare dinner with the little she had at home. As she turned the corner onto her street, she saw a group of women standing outside the grocery store, talking and laughing together. Among them was Farida, a woman who lived 2 houses down from Amara. Farida was known in the neighborhood for her sharp tongue and her habit of talking about others. She came from a wealthy family, wore expensive clothes, and seemed to take pleasure in pointing out the struggles of those less fortunate. Amara had always tried to avoid her, offering polite greetings, but never engaging in long conversations. As Amara approached, she couldn't help but overhear Farida's voice rising above the others. Her heart sank when she heard her own name. "That Amara," Farida was saying. "I saw her yesterday wearing the same dress she wore last week. Doesn't she have any shame? And her daughter, poor thing, always looks so shabby. If you ask me, she should find a better job instead of spending all her time at that bakery for pennies." The other women laughed uncomfortably, some nodding in agreement while others looked away. Amara felt her face grow hot with embarrassment. She wanted to turn around and take a different route home, but her feet felt frozen to the ground. Just as she was about to force herself to move, she heard another voice speak up. "Actually, you know what I heard about Amara." It was Safia, an elderly woman who lived at the end of the street. She was known for her wisdom and kindness, someone who spent her days in prayer and helping others quietly without seeking recognition. Farida turned to her, eyebrows raised with interest, expecting more gossip to fuel her conversation. "What did you hear?" Safia smiled gently and said, "I heard that every single morning, before the sun rises, she goes to the bakery and works so hard that her hands bleed sometimes. I heard that despite having barely enough for herself, she always manages to put food on the table for her daughter. I heard that she never misses her prayers, even when she's exhausted. I heard that last month, when old Mr. Hassan was sick and couldn't leave his house, she brought him fresh bread every single day without him even asking." The group fell silent. Safia continued, her voice soft but firm. "I also heard that when the mosque was collecting donations for the orphanage, she gave what little she could, even though she herself struggles. I heard that her daughter Zainab is one of the kindest children in school, always helping others, and never complaining about what she doesn't have. And do you know why I heard all these things? Because God sees everything, even the things we try to hide. He sees the intention behind every action, and He elevates those who remain patient and grateful in hardship." Tears began to well up in Amara's eyes, but now they were tears of a different kind. She had been so focused on the cruel words from Farida that she had almost forgotten that God was always watching, always knowing, always there. Safia turned and noticed Amara standing there. Their eyes met, and the elderly woman smiled warmly. "Come, my dear," she said, gesturing for Amara to join them. "I was just telling these ladies what an inspiration you are." Farida's face turned red with shame. She looked down at her expensive shoes and suddenly felt very small despite all her wealth. The other women began to murmur in agreement with Safia, some apologizing quietly for not speaking up sooner. But something even more surprising happened. One of the women, named Miriam, stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "Safiya is right," she said. "I've been so focused on my own problems that I forgot to see the blessings right in front of me. Amara, I own a clothing shop downtown, and I've been looking for someone honest and hardworking to help me manage it. Would you consider working with me? The pay is much better than the bakery, and the hours would allow you more time with Zainab." Amara stood speechless, her bag of bread trembling in her hands. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Through her tears, she managed to whisper, "But why? Why would you offer this to me?" Miriam smiled. "Because God works in mysterious ways. I've been praying for guidance on who to trust with my business, and hearing Safiya speak about you just now felt like an answer to my prayers. Sometimes we're so busy looking at what people lack on the outside that we forget to see the wealth they carry in their hearts." That night, Amara returned home and told Zainab everything that had happened. They sat together on their small couch, holding hands, and Amara recited a verse from the Quran that her own mother had taught her years ago, a reminder that God is the best of planners, and that He provides for those who trust in Him from ways they could never imagine. "My dear Zainab," Amara said, stroking her daughter's hair, "today I learned something very important. When people talk about you, some will speak from jealousy or ignorance, seeing only what you lack. But there will always be those who speak from truth and compassion, seeing what God has blessed you with. The question is not what others say about you, but whether you remain true to yourself and to God, no matter what they say." Zainab hugged her mother tightly. "Mama, you've always told me to be patient and to trust in God's plan. I think today God showed us exactly why." The next week, Amara began working at Miriam's clothing shop. The pay was indeed much better, and she finally had enough to not just survive, but to live with a bit of comfort. She could afford new clothes for Zainab, better food for their table, and even managed to save a little each month. But more than the money, she had gained something far more valuable. She had witnessed how God can turn a moment of humiliation into a moment of elevation. As for Farida, the incident changed her too. She saw how her words had hurt someone who had done nothing wrong, someone who was simply trying her best with what God had given her. She began to think about all the times she had judged others based on their circumstances rather than their character. Slowly, she started to change her ways, learning to speak with more kindness and to look for the good in people rather than their faults. One day, several months later, Farida knocked on Amara's door. When Amara opened it, she found Farida standing there with a box of sweets and tears in her eyes. "I came to apologize," Farida said, her voice shaking. "I've been carrying the shame of what I said about you that day, and I realize now how wrong I was. You didn't deserve those words. I was speaking from my own insecurities and arrogance, and I'm deeply sorry." Amara looked at her for a long moment, and then she smiled. "Come in," she said, opening the door wider. "Let's have tea together." As they sat in Amara's small living room, sipping tea and talking, Farida began to cry. "How can you be so kind to me after what I did?" she asked. Amara reached across and took her hand. "Because God teaches us to forgive as we hope to be forgiven. We are all imperfect, all struggling with our own battles. If I hold on to anger and resentment, I only hurt myself. Besides, what you said that day led to one of the greatest blessings of my life. God used even that painful moment for good." This act of forgiveness transformed their relationship. Farida became one of Amara's closest friends, learning from her patience, her faith, and her ability to see the hand of God in every circumstance, both good and difficult. Years passed, and Zainab grew into a beautiful young woman, strong in her faith and character. She often told the story of that day to others, of how her mother's patience and trust in God had been rewarded in ways they could never have imagined. She learned that our true worth is not measured by what we own or wear, but by the content of our character and the strength of our faith. The lessons spread through the neighborhood like ripples in water. People began to think more carefully about their words, understanding that what we say about others reflects more on us than on them. They learned that God is always watching, always listening, and that He raises those who remain humble and patient through trials. Amara continued to work at the clothing shop, but she never forgot her days at the bakery, never forgot what it felt like to struggle. She made it her mission to help others who were going through hard times, offering employment to those who needed it, sharing what she had, and always speaking words of encouragement and hope. And whenever someone would thank her for her kindness, she would simply smile and say, "Don't thank me. Thank God, for it is He who provides for all of us. I am merely a vessel through which His blessings flow." The story of what Safia said about Amara that day became legendary in the neighborhood, a reminder that in a world where it's easy to speak ill of others, we should strive to be the ones who speak truth, who see the good, who recognize the struggles that others carry silently. Because you never know when your words might be exactly what someone needs to hear, or how God might use those words to change someone's life forever. And so Amara lived the rest of her days with a grateful heart, knowing that every hardship she had faced had been a preparation for the blessings that were to come, and that God's timing is always perfect, even when we cannot see it in the moment. She taught her daughter, and her daughter would one day teach her own children, that faith is not just believing when things are easy, but trusting in God's wisdom especially when things are difficult, knowing that He sees what we cannot see and plans what we cannot plan. This is the power of words spoken with truth and compassion, and this is the promise of God to those who remain patient and faithful through every trial, that after hardship comes ease, and that He is always, always near.